And we are back, guys. My name is Jim McIver. I am the host and CEO of the Frictionless Sales Podcast. This is brought to you by Lifecycle HQ and Brad Mac Fractional Sales Consulting. Today I have one of my first corporate sales mentors, without whom I probably would not have Brad Mac Fractional Sales Consulting or even my corporate career at all. We've got Jonathan Okomo here coming out of Atlanta, Georgia. Jonathan, how are you?
Good, good. How are you doing this morning?
I'm happy, man. I was so excited that you wanted to come, that you said, hey, man, I'll come be on the show, man. Let's chat. And we
Yeah, of
talk on the
course.
phone a lot, but I don't think I've seen you face to face in quite some time, man. I guess FaceTime could work, but this is even better.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely, absolutely. It's a pleasure to join you guys and, love to engage in this platform. Like what you guys are doing. I think it's good stuff. So,
Yeah, absolutely. So I guess a little backstory with us. I mean, my East African brother, man, I walked into the marketing firm. What was this in 2015?
yeah,
And
yeah,
it
that's,
was just magic from there. And I guess we were in the digital marketing space together, running sales, running teams. And now you've got a couple of other ventures and things that you've done since then. And I think you're running two companies now. Tell me a little bit
yep.
about what you guys are doing and who it is that you help.
Yeah, so I mean, initially, to circle back, when me and you were working, I took advantage of working at a digital marketing agency, right, and started building out a lead generation website.
Hmm.
I was living in Steamboat Springs, Colorado, doing the ski bum thing. Full transparency, I was probably the one of the few Kenyans up there in the Rocky Mountains, but I've always been a little different, a little
Hmm.
different. But there was a big construction boom up there. There's a lot of contractors. They are struggling getting leads there, and so I said, "Hey, I know how to pull in these leads. I know how to attract people to the website using SEO and different social media tactics." And so essentially, I formed Mountain Renovations, www.mountainrenovations.com. I capture the leads and essentially I send those to contractors that we work with, and we have an agreement where they pay me out 5% of their labor costs. Which these jobs up there in a ski mountain town, you're talking anywhere between 500,000 to $3 million jobs, depending if it's a full home build or kind of renovation. So it was pretty profitable. There was a lot of sales struggles, not with me, but there was a lot of training that I had to do with the contractors because contractors are great at building, not so good at closing business. So no matter how much business we were throwing at these guys, they just left it on the table. They'd one follow up and call me up, and I'm like, "What happened to this lead?" And they said, "Oh well, I followed up. I sent them an email or I sent them a text message and a phone call, and they never responded." And I'm like, "Well, what did you do after that?" I said, did you email them? Did you send a follow up text message? Did you call them again?" And it was that lack of engagement, not understanding the sales process. So, it's still kind of a bit of a hurdle with the contractors because it's just not natural for them. But we've gotten it dialed in, and the guys who we're working with now slowly are really killing it, closing really big jobs. I think the largest one we closed so far was a $2.5 million home build up there in Route County in Steamboat Springs, Colorado, which is amazing. If you guys ever want to take a ski vacation, see the Rockies, Steamboat Springs is the way to go. But anyways, that was a good contract and paid off. Because we all know startups. Jim knows startups. You're putting out a lot of money. You don't have a ton of money, and you're in the hole for a little bit until you really figure out that sales process and to dial it in. But that was kind of my first venture, my first business. It's still going in the background. We don't put so much focus on that. It's kind of just doing its own thing right now. The main kind of show was joining Palms Media Group, whereas
Okay.
that business partnership, without getting into detail, is pretty complex. But there's multiple different avenues where I make money through that. We built that out originally as a software development company. That company, PMG, Palms Media Group, has released Review Hero. You guys can always check it out, www.reviewhero.com. It essentially automated reviews for businesses through a process. So you could set up an iPad, it had a commercial use where you could set them up at restaurants, and you might have even seen similar software in airport bathrooms. When you're getting out of the airport bathroom and it has these happy or not faces, you get to click whether you were happy with the service or etc. That was our first venture into software, and we got a big deal right off the bat by going to conferences, and shows, trade shows, and we just did our song and dance, trying to sell it. The interesting part about that business was we launched right as COVID hit, and they had done away with the single contact points. And in order for the software to work, for the most part, most people were using iPads. So, that was, that was a really interesting time because we had put so much money in development, we had spent so much money on the sales team, but a lot of stuff had to go on pause. We kind of parked that. It was downloadable in the Apple Store. It still is. You can go check it. Just type in Review Hero. And we kind of refocused that sales cycle. We realized that through the Apple Store we were getting a lot of downloads, but we actually were not reaching out to these people to follow up on those downloads to actually sell the product, get these iPads set up, etc. So we had a lot of business on the sideline that we were just kind of leaving there, and we had to develop a whole sales strategy around how to reach out to those individuals, engage, sell the product, and get that going. Then our second venture was for software, was LawTracer. LawTracer was a solution for attorneys utilizing AI, where AI, essentially there's service-based businesses, right? We'll start with attorneys. You typically don't know what's going on with your case. If anybody's been in an accident, if anybody's gone through a divorce or anything like that, you know that trying to get in touch with your attorney is hard. These attorneys are often fielding like 40, 50 cases at once. They can't call everybody individually. So what we did is we created a system where they have these messages that are explaining where they're at on the process, but also has a login where they can see a timeline, kind of like a Domino's pizza tracker. And I was actually ordering pizza when I came up with the idea, because I'm like, how great would it be if I knew what was going on with my case with a little tracker? I just want to know what's going on with my case. But the cool thing is it gave them timelines. They had graphs internally for the law firms to see where cases are tied up. Maybe all of these cases are in pre-litigation, and allowed the attorneys to go in and say, well, let me go to my pre-lit department and let me understand why all these cases are stuck here. They should be moving through. Also, too, it's time stamped, so they're able to see the timeline of how long these cases were taking, right? You have staff, you have all these other people you have to pay to process the case. It really gave them some internal statistics and numbers that they were not getting, and allowed them to kind of keep that communication with the push of a button between the client and the attorney. So, that was our second venture. It was all developed under Palms Media Group. We're really amazing at software. To continue that journey, within the past year and a half, we started taking on digital marketing clients. Some of our clients who we did software for said, hey, do you guys also do marketing, SEO, PPC, social media advertising, things of that nature? And we said, yeah, we can do that. I have the background with Jim in digital marketing at that agency where we're selling these digital marketing packages. Yeah. So that was very easy transition. But the crazy part was we never wanted to be a digital marketing agency. This was a software development agency. So, it just kind of moved in that fashion. I learned about a corporation called HTM, or How to Manage a Small Law Firm. They have about 700, I think to 750 law firms nationwide, with a sign-up goal, I think this year, of around 1,000 nationally. They're really good, a bunch of fractional consultants, fractional CMOs, COOs, CFOs, etc. and they have a preferred vendors list. To get on that list, you had to have a certain amount of HTM members or law firms that work with them who are happy for a certain amount of time. It was part of kind of the networking sales thing where I had to attend one of these events. I had to do speaking engagements, and I had to create that dialogue to try to get these people signed up, because I was like, once we're on that preferred vendors list, we're going to get a ton of digital marketing business and potentially sell our SaaS products that we've already developed for attorneys. One of the ways that I did that was I was going to these conferences or trade shows and starting these email chains, right? So essentially I was walking around to attorneys and said, hey, you guys have a lot of questions about marketing. I'm noticing a lot of pain points at this conference. I said, if you guys need any recommendations at all, I'm just going to shoot you an email. I'm going to put all of you guys in the same email thread, and let's start that dialogue. You can go ahead anytime you have a question with your PPC, SEO, or whatever, go ahead and shoot me a message to that chain. Maybe one of these other attorneys have a solution. Maybe I have an immediate solution I can consult you on for free, and let's start that dialogue. So that started this email chain. And through that email chain, I was able to plug PMG, right? So I'm plugging PMG and saying, hey, I've worked with these guys. I'm associated with this company. I know they do good work, and we've worked with attorneys, and we just explain my background. I make an introduction to my partner, Roscoe. And once we did that, I was hopping on the calls. I was doing what we call a needs assessment, which I learned initially in sales is really, really important to understand your clients' needs, right? Also to understand their goals. And once we understood their needs and goals, it was really easy to craft an intelligent offer for them. And by intelligent offer, I mean understanding realistically what's your budget, what is your total addressable market or your TAM, meaning that if there was a divorce attorney in Dallas, Texas, we wanted to know how many searches are going online that have transactional intent with people looking to hire an attorney. And we were getting those numbers together, then taking those numbers and seeing essentially how much would that cost to buy 10% of that traffic, right? And then we were bringing that back during a secondary call to go over, once we had all the information, putting a program together and then going over not necessarily a closing call, but a call to say, here's the nuts and bolts. This is what you need. If you want to compete with this guy, it's this much. If you want to compete on this level, it's this much. And again, we would go back to that needs assessment and say, hey, it looks like your goal was about 8 to 10 clients per month. If we capture 20% of this traffic, which we think we can, and we can drive this to your website, if your internal close rates are this, it looks like this will get you about 8 to 10 a month. And it was an intelligent way to sell. It wasn't having to do that song and dance saying, I'm the best, we've done good for this guy, we've done good for this guy. It was a very consultative, data-focused sale. And I realized through all of the businesses, whether it was Mountain Renovations and training those guys, even in Mountain Renovations, the contractors had to know the average per square foot price. They had to know realistic timelines of getting materials to the job site. And when they were selling, I was telling them, you have to have all this on paper. Because if somebody is about to invest with you, having these data points and being intelligent about how you're proposing this offer to work with them, right, and to buy your services, it made it really easy to make a decision. Because, right, they either have the money, they don't have the money. But anyways, that's our approach. Right now we're cranking preferred vendors list, getting attorneys left and right, and that was kind of our process. But I'm going to slow down. I'm a chatterbox. So I'm going to give Jim a chance to hop in. Yeah. I can't hear you, Jim.
Oh, awesome. There we go. I wanted to make sure I didn't have any background noise coming. Okay. I said, no, that's awesome. That's great. I wanted to hear everything. This is actually for everybody to listen to your perspective and all. So it kind of brings me to a bit where I wanted to dive in with what you're talking about. When you're crafting an intelligent offer, This is something funny I bounce around with actually one of my business partners that's a producer. He actually helped me start the podcast. I've done a couple of episodes on one of his podcasts.
Hmm.
And how often is it, when you do a needs assessment, do you run into a prospect like attorneys or other business owners where their needs and what they need are not really clear? I've run into this a lot, yeah, whether in the corporate space, working with some IT companies, digital marketing with attorneys. The only needs that they really know are like, okay, we need to make money. And then our needs assessment, our discovery process is really granular. We've worked on it. We know exactly what to ask and connect the dots, but they're not giving us a lot to work with, which makes it very hard to influence them towards where they need to be. They're
Sure.
not even clear. They're kind of like in the sky is falling, mode mentality, and it's really hard to make a decision because nothing is clear. How often do you run into that, or have you in the past?
Well, I mean, I think that's more common than not. Honestly, for doing this for about 17 years, I would say about 90% of these business owners will give you that limited information. And so before, I go into any call, because we have some really strange leads and clients that have come in. One guy has like a laser company. Essentially, it's lasers that they use for construction. And I was like, he told me, I just want more laser business. I said, what is laser business? I said, give me a little bit more. Like, where are these people? How much is this? Da 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 da. But it led me, and it's kind of forced me to do that research. We have Google for a reason. We have
Hmm.
Reddit. We have YouTube. Getting these industry keywords, or we'll say verbiage that they use in the industry, typing that into Google, doing some research on it, you're going into the conversation a little bit more intelligently. So the laser guy, I asked for, what are your products' names? What do they call them commercially? I look them up. I see how much their offer is. I even take it a next level to go ahead and maybe call a competitor and do some kind of market research on my own and say, hey, yeah, I'm interested in this. I have this company or this business. How much would it cost me for this? I need this done, or I want to use your lasers for this. And I'll get a quote. And you can do that. I mean, that's just market research. And so when you're going into the call, if you have that limited information, I almost want to say shame on you for not doing your research ahead of time. And if you know the company, right? If you have the company name prior to even the needs assessment call, looking up their revenue numbers, looking up how many employees they have, looking up whether they're publicly traded or private, looking at their competitors. What's the market share on there? Is there any market to be had, or is it saturated? This is going to give you a lot of insights. And when you get into that needs assessment call, when you're giving them insights of industry insights, of what these other people need, or what you've seen these other companies or competitors do, it really, really buys that trust. It's a huge trust factor.
Mm. Yeah, you know what? That's cool. I got a cool game or something I wanted to ask you. What are some of your favorite sources for information? Information, being prepared. What is one of our old friends? He says victory loves preparation, and so two ways I like to really get my information from. I use LinkedIn Sales Navigator to find a lot of data on things. Like for example, whenever I have to do something related to channel, let's say I may set an alert for certain territory companies and say,
Sure.
okay, well, they've got a new CMO. This would be the perfect time because they either want to make a name for themselves or change
Really
something. This would be
smart.
a perfect
Yeah.
time. Or ChatGPT, OpenAI is doing some great stuff, man. And so,
Oh, I love
especially
it.
when
I
I'm
use it
going
too much.
into, is this especially when I'm going into an industry where I don't know much. I say, can you tell me like I'm an eighth grader all about XYZ company or XYZ industry and what do they face and what's going on in their landscape right now? And they'll come back with a
Yeah.
lot of, it'll make me sound like I've been looking at Market Watch or CNBC
Oh
all day
yeah,
long.
you're a professional. That's the whole point, right? I love that saying, fake it till you make it. I mean, they have
Yeah,
no idea. Most of these people, unless you're a celebrity, they don't know who you are, right? They
right.
don't know your background, but that doesn't mean you can't educate yourself to talk to them intelligently on the phone call, right? I
Right.
mean, so what you do is brilliant. I really think that's smart.
What are some of the ways that you like to get information when you're going into your
Uh,
engagements?
you know, uh, I usually do a lot of research just on the company. I use GPT. I like to find Reddit threads. That's kind of
Mhm.
a little bit of a secret dive I do. So there'll be Reddit threads on all sorts of things. It may be like agricultural IoT or something like that. And you'd be
Mhm.
surprised. There'll be a whole thread of people in that industry in agricultural IoT all answering all these questions, giving feedback on what happens in agricultural IoT or the latest nuances or that it's too expensive or it doesn't work or whatever. And so
Mhm.
again, we'll just use agricultural IoT, right? I found out that it doesn't work for everybody. And I also found out that it's so niche, nobody even knows about it. So whereas it's a great product for most people, it doesn't work for everybody, but it's just exposure. So when I go into the marketing call, I'm like, well, we need to build out a big educational campaign about this. The public needs articles, information, videos, and content that is digestible for an
Yeah.
eighth grader, right? Where they can understand what agricultural IoT is. And I think in turn, that will generate business for you guys simply by educating the public about that. And so that's how I do it. So it's like Reddit, GPT, Google. I've been Googling since I was a little kid. I'm telling you, Google has everything. So I mean, it's just having that curiosity. We have a lot of avenues to gather that information, but be curious. Don't just be focused on that money. Be curious about the client. Be curious about their industry. Be curious about the state, the area, the county they're from. Be curious about what their goals are. Because your curiosity is going to come off as energy, excitement. And when you're interested and you're excited, most people like to hear themselves talk, especially me. The more interested you are in me, the more engaged I am with you because you're sitting here listening to me talk. And that's how it goes. But you have to be saying something that lets me know that you understand what I'm talking about, right?
Awesome. Exactly. Exactly. Well, actually, really quickly, so I wanted to ask, I know I only asked you for a couple of minutes today.
That's fine.
So, Palms Media Group, tell us exactly how we can find you and all that good stuff.
Yeah, so you can find us at www.palmsmediagroup.com. Some of our other products you can find through there. There's links, but the other website for our software products, if you want to look at the promotional videos or kind of check out how it works, our mission statements, we have www.lawtracer.com. So
Okay.
it's LAWTRACER.com. And then my other business, Mountain Renovations, unless you own a ski in, ski out condo or you are looking for renovation projects in Colorado, which you may, right?
Mhm.
After you visit, you may want to stay in Steamboat. I'm telling you, it's pretty amazing. Unless that, you can just go check out that website. You'll see it's simple, it's straightforward. It's a lead magnet. It essentially is supposed to do the same thing as Angie's List or HomeAdvisor.com,
Mhm.
but that's www.mountainrenovations.com. And we also are on Facebook. We're on LinkedIn. But you can always email us. You can always give us a shout out. You can fill out a box or whatever. But yeah, we're always here for any marketing questions. And man, this guy's Jim. He's good. He's really,
Thank you.
really,
Thank you.
really good at what he does. I got to give you props for that, man.
Very well. Awesome. Well, guys, thank you guys. Thank you, Jonathan, for being here, giving us a little bit about what you do and some good insights. Again,
Yeah.
this is the Frictionless Sales Podcast brought to you by Lifecycle Sales HQ and Brad Mac Fractional Sales Consulting. We're all here for good training, development, and production. Guys, thank you all, and always reducing friction in your sales process.
Let's go. All right.